Principles of Project Learning, Episode 5. Teach learners how to carry out research. This video is part of a series on the principles of project learning. This episode is about the importance of teaching learners how to carry out research. Research is integral to all projects. Once the learner has selected their project question or practical challenge, a logical next step is to carry out research to find the information they need to answer their question or meet their challenge. We should not assume that learners know how to carry out independent research. There are specific techniques that researchers use, such as citing sources and creating bibliographies, which need to be taught. Learners also need to understand what is meant by research. They may well not understand the difference between searching and researching. Learners need to be taught that there is more to research than simply finding information in a book or website and copying it out. Research involves exploring source information, analysing its meaning, and considering how it can be applied to the learner's project. In this episode, we will explore a 4-stage model of research, then consider tips for helping learners develop their research skills. A model for teaching research skills. The following model addresses 4 elements in the research process: referencing, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Referencing. Citing sources is an important part of the research process. Adding citations to a project is a good way for learners politely to acknowledge their sources and show that their research has a credible basis. To assist learners, there are tools for citing sources built into the most commonly used word processors, as well as easy-to-use free online bibliography builders. Analysis. The first stage in research is finding information from sources. But there is more to the research process than simply gathering up information. Information needs to be analysed in relation to the learner's research question or practical challenge. Analysis involves exploring the meaning of a source. For example, consider a learner who has decided to design a logo for a friend's website. Their research might involve cutting out and pasting a selection of logos onto a page in a scrapbook, then annotating the page with their thoughts about the effectiveness of the images. For many learners, analysis will happen through the use of the technique of paraphrase. For example, consider a learner who has chosen to do a project on whether we should allow self-driving cars on public highways. For this, they will need to find reports and research papers on this topic. Having read a source, they should ask themselves what point they have learned from the source, and summarise this in their own words, perhaps supplementing the paraphrase with a short quotation. Synthesis. Learners can develop a deeper understanding of a topic if they explore how one source relates to another. Source synthesis means connecting sources together. One way to encourage learners to synthesize sources is to ask them to produce a thematic research review. Taking the example of the project on self-driving cars, a research review could include sections about how self-driving cars work, predictions for the future, and ethical issues. Within each of these topic areas, the learner should link together information from a number of sources to produce an integrated review of research. Evaluation. It is important that learners evaluate the research sources they use. This means giving thought to questions about the reliability and objectivity of their sources. It is good for learners to develop the habit of checking each source when they first use it, looking at the credentials of the author or creator, and bearing in mind the location of the source. Learners can be asked to write brief evaluations of sources, perhaps using footnotes or endnotes, as a way of showing that they have carefully weighed their credibility. Tips for teaching research skills. Ask learners to produce a thematic research review on a topic of their choice. Teach learners how to cite, analyse, synthesise and evaluate sources as they work on their review. Set specific targets for the research review. For example, using at least 4 sources, write 200 words per week over the next 4 weeks to produce an 800-word research review. Advise learners to create a plan for their research review with 3 or 4 topic headings. A good rule to follow is write from the start, cite from the start. Show learners where to find tools such as automatic citation generators and bibliography builders. Ask learners to write brief source evaluations in footnotes whenever a source is first used. Encourage learners to use a wide range of sources, not just easy-to-access websites. With older learners, encourage use of free online open access research archives.